Hello and welcome to another episode of our podcast series by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. My name is Zehra Naqvi and I'm the Senior Research Associate at South Asia Research Institute for Minorities, an organization that works to support and empower minority communities across the South Asia. Today we are talking about the hope and empowerment for minority women as we start the new year. This episode is called A New Era of Hopes, Empowering Minority Women to Build Inclusive Future. I am honored to have a very special guest, Nisar. Ms. Nisar is a journalist, educator, and social justice advocate. She has made an impact on the lives of marginalized communities. She was the first Muslim woman journalist in Kannada media, breaking the barriers and setting the example for others. She has worked as a principal of Baduku Community College with the organization like Anika and Munade, helping sexual minorities and garment workers. Welcome, Ms. Nisar. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be in this place. Yeah.
Great. Let's get started with your incredible journey. You have worked in journalism, education, and advocacy. How have these experiences helped you to understanding the challenges of minority women faced as the beginning of a new era? What does empowerment means to you?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. In general, empowerment is decided as the process of increasing women's agencies, access to resources, decision-making power, and ability to participate fully in social, economic, and political life. It encompasses various dimensions and aimed at achieving gender equality and enabling women to live with dignity and autonomy. And I think these are the key aspects of empowerment when we talk in general. But when it comes to minority women, what changes? Uh, that is the major question I would like to take up, because we cannot consider and put everybody in one basket and talk about justice, right? So in that case, then how do we define empowerment for um, minority women? That too, when it comes to when it is defined in the regular mainstream, the so-called mainstream things, then it is like it changes. We have to look into the aspects as it is access to resources. Definitely, it is increasing women's agencies, but at the same time, it is access to resources, decision-making power, ability to participate fully in social, economic, and political life. It encompasses various dimensions and is aimed at achieving gender equality and enabling women to live with dignity and autonomy, which is a very, very important aspect. You can divide this into many other aspects, like it's like economic empowerment is a very essential part of it. When we talk about economic empowerment, it is also access to education, right? And trainings, like I would not call it as vocational trainings, because I have my own reservations about vocational, saying that I will later in our discussion I can talk about that. But also like creating employment opportunities and equal pay for equal work and access to financial resources such as loans, savings, and property rights, and support for entrepreneurship and participation in the formal and informal sectors in the economy. And like when it comes to social empowerment, it should be like challenging traditional gender roles and stereotypes. Though it all exists in the mainstream, the so-called extreme empowerment, but still when it comes minority women, women's health, education, and well-being will take center stage, strengthening community support systems to address issues like domestic violence and discrimination. And when it comes to political empowerment, you know the situation right now. We have a first lady. When it comes to political empowerment, a tribal woman, Draupadi Murmu, as our president. But having said that, how she is able to exercise her power and how she's been treated is a question mark. So representation to political process and decision-making bodies, active participation in governance on levels, okay, which is my dream. Yeah, and I think everybody who dream about social justice and a better world will all dream about that women should have decision-making power in all the levels, and advocacy for law and policies that promote gender equality. And also is like very important thing is legal empowerment. Our women should be able to understand like how the legal processes, ensure justice and legal practices against discrimination, harassment, and violence. The having that awareness is very important, and support and this awareness of legal rights will support in navigating the justice system. And also, like, very importantly, I would say psychological empowerment, which I mentioned it as self-work, because most of our minorities as a community itself, we all need self-work. It's a very essential part of the any process to start with. I would say I would emphasize the self-work as like understanding who am I, from where I'm coming from, what are the opportunities I have got, and what are the structural inequalities which are holding me back, and where is this inferiority complexes and inferiority or superiority, whatever the complexes are, where it is coming from. Like, and for some people, I would say it, how their privileges is making an impact on their decisions and their choices. So I think starting from there would help, and also from there to the intersectionalities, how the intersectionalities are affecting their education, starting from every aspects, like whatever I mentioned above. In all these aspects, how these intersectionalities are very important, which are royally neglected. Okay, and general policies are making, and like how these general policies are not able to reach to these minority women. And having said this, my
Thank you for sharing that. It's inspiring to hear how your experience have shaped your understanding for these challenges and your vision of empowerment. Moving to the second question, you were the first Muslim woman journalist in Kannada media, which is amazing achievement. What inspired you to take this path, and what advice would you give to the young women of minority communities who want to achieve their dreams in male-dominated fields?
Yeah, I would give major credit to my parents and to my elder sister. To tell you a little bit about myself, like, I'm one among six sisters and two brothers. So our father was a district health supervisor, who's I would say, is a visionary who gave a lot of emphasis on the education of girl children, especially. Like, he was like, he always used to tell us that how social justice, education will lead you to all these things, social justice to empowerment and all these things. And he always used to say, it is way back in, like, I would say, I'm a 63 born. So in those days, from there, his vision about education was a major thing. And my mother at that time, like, she was also very young, but she has just finished her fourth standard, and but she used to read all the newspaper, and like from there, her support to education for us, as where women's education was not that great at the time, but they both took that pain to difficulties, the challenges to educate us. And my father always used to say, see, I want minimum of all of you to be graduates. I don't know, I will get you married to good houses, definitely, but if time comes, you should be able to stand on your feet. Yeah, that was his vision. And alhamdulillah, I would say, out of six sisters, we have four double graduates and two are graduates. So that way, my parents, and to become a journalist is again, like, my father's support to my elder sister, who's a practicing advocate and a lot of, like, she's a literary person and a activist, and she has also won lots of awards, state awards and international awards. And she started as a journalist. I would say that she started writing to weekly, which was very, very progressive weekly in Canada. And my father's vision was that we should also learn the local language. As a minority women, like as a minorities, we should also be able to mingle with the local thing. And that is where he taught us all Kannada. He put us in Kannada medium, and then we picked up to the English, this thing. So his vision worked really well. And my sister made her name. And she was 15 years elder to me. And then, like, she is like a second mother to us. So from there, her work inspired me. So I would also, I did my Kannada literature masters, and from there started writing. And I had a passion to start as a lecturer. So I started my career as a lecturer, and then moved on to journalism by chance. But I enjoyed thoroughly that also. Like, and it taught me the challenges, to fight with the challenges, to make your own position, how like as you mentioned, in the main dominated society. And for a very long time, I didn't even know that I was the first Kannada journalist in the regular Kannada media. I was the first women, Muslim women, to be part of this Kannada media. Later on, I came to know about it. So, like, because uh, bits and pieces, people were writing, like, women were writing to newspapers, but in the regular media, I was the first person served as a journalist. And then I would say that when it can be challenging, but also incredibly rewarding, because you feel so. I would say some part of the time I would feel very powerful, because that journalist card gave me access to anywhere I want to go. Yeah, I want to. I can go with authority, and I can ask questions, relevant questions, and like that gives you a lot of empowerment. And for young minority women aspiring to succeed in such areas, should have the knowledge of, I would say, national, international history, and have an understanding of your own history and roots. In particular, firmly base your foot in that which gives you context for what's happening today, so that your reports can become authentic. Because whatever I see in today's journalism, like no journalism, most of the journalism schools won't give you these perspectives. Like, it's the wider perspectives where your thoughts and processes should be based. Okay, and be sensitive to what's happening around you. And also is like your reporting should be very authentic. And also why you have to be authentic and how you have to be authentic is also going to the spot, trying to analyze the thing. And like why I emphasize on intersectionality is because that gives you a different perspective, I would say, vision to what you are writing. That way, it is like try to collect authentic data, visit the spot, and be people's person, I would say. Like with this, invest in the education, have knowledge of current affairs, and then find your voice and niche, what you're doing, like what interests you. And like, so concentrate on that, build your resources on that. And like I would say in the present world, mentorship and allies is a very, very important part of the process. Take the help of some mentors, those who have made difference in the field, and like learn the technology. Technology is a major tool today. So learn technology, and also like build resilience, because you are entering into a very dominated space. There you have to create your own space. So creating your own space comes with a lot of challenges, and you need to ignore some of the comments. You need to move on. You see, this is, I would not say that you need to prove it to anybody. So prove it to yourself. So be that person where people should not be able to ignore you. Make your space. That I think, yeah, and advocate yourself. Advocate yourself. Be assertive and negotiate. Yeah, and do the network strategically. Network is a tool today. In today's world, network is a tool. So these are like, and also challenge the stereotypes. Challenge the stereotypes, and also like at the most, I would say, like not this quite exhaustive job, and you will have a lot of burnouts in this field. And so be careful about your self-care, your self-expressions. And it is very stressful. Journalism is very stressful, challenging environment. So practice self-care and balance the work life to avoid burnouts, because especially women will have double roles. I would say more than double roles to play. So for that, they are what they are, how they are, and what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey and advice. Your story is truly motivating and offers so much hope to the young women working to breaking the barriers. So moving ahead, you also worked with young people as Samhavada and the Baku. I hope I said it right. How can schools and colleges create better opportunities for minority women so they can grow and lead in the future?
Zehra, just a minute.
Yes. Okay, so moving ahead, you have also worked with the young people at Samavada and the Samavada Center. I pronounce it right. How can schools?
It is Samvada. Samvada means dialogue. Samvada means it's a dialogue.
It's a Hindi word.
Samvad in Hindi and Kannada Samvada. It's like, it's basically dialogue with young people.
Samvada and Baduku Center. How
Yes.
can schools and colleges create better opportunity for minority women so they can grow and lead in future?
Samvada is a like almost 35-year-old organization, which started by a very eminent and very, I would say more than eminent. It's a person who was very pro people and for justice, social justice, and very sensitive human being, Anita Ratnam. She was very aware of her privileges and also aware of the people who are not much privileged. So she wanted to work with them. So she started this organization way back. And from there, it's been a journey. It started as an awareness program and like helping young people to understand their journey, their lives. Like as I said, told you, the self work, how to understand themselves, understand the structural disparities, how the so from 17 years worked with this college going young people, and they used to come to us. We have designed programs for them, and like with those programs we used to do orientations and like deep workshops about gender discriminations, caste, class, gender, communalism, pluralism, and all these things with the exposure visits to all the places, and these things. And later, we realized that whatever we are teaching them, whatever we are trying to bring the awareness into them, is somewhere the students who can afford, the people who can afford, the young people, they are with our interventions. They are finding their places in many different ways. They're not getting into the mainstream of like becoming doctors and engineers and these things. They're trying to do other very impactful work with the society. But the minorities, especially the people with the underprivileged backgrounds who were there, they were stuck with this ideology which they are getting, and the reality of the life, which was like impacting them. Like they are not able to take decisions. They are getting into the guilt trips. Because to share one small instant, once I went to where we have a different center. We had centers, and we have now also like in the different places. So, one of the centers when I went to a program, I met a senior student and I asked him, "What are you doing now?" In spite of asking 3 times, he avoided me giving that answer. Then finally, I got hold of him and I said, "I'm asking what are you doing right now?" So he then very hesitantly he said, "I'm a line supervisor in a Pepsi company." Okay, whereas like when they were students and they were coming to the centers, and when they were part of the Samvada, they were all like singing songs against Pepsi and how they are utilizing our resources, and how the local people are betrayed of many things. And now for his living, he has to depend on that company only. Yeah. So that is when it struck that what are we doing? So after that deep discussions and these things, from there onwards, we started thinking about how we should venture into livelihoods. When it comes to livelihoods, it's again like in the NGO sector, it was mostly a vocational trainings. Vocational training is again a beauty parlor or some repairs and these things, which we were not very comfortable with. So, and then we decided how different we are, how different, and what we are trying to bring in. So then we thought of that regular colleges give you knowledge and perspective to an extent, and polytechnics and ITIs will give you skills to work on, right? But nobody talks about self-work. So why we should not bring in our own experiences of whatever we have worked for so far, and then bring that into make it as a curriculum and make our own curriculum and our own courses. That's how Baduku started. Baduku means living. It's like a living. So we said Baduku College for Livelihoods in Baduku Livelihoods Initiative. Then we designed the courses, and we designed courses for like journalism for peace and development, and then we worked on like solid waste management, and then we built the course on mental health. Mental health, different segments we worked on, like wellness and justice, women's wellness and justice was the course first we started, and then moved on to your many other different courses, and finally a mental health course for the girls grassroots level workers, those who are interacting with the communities. So, and that's how the courses started. And that is where we brought in our curriculum. We worked on the curriculum. And it took a lot of time for us also to understand the curriculum, because at the end of the day, we have to place these our young students. And most of the time, affiliations is a very important part of these processes. So we don't want it to affiliate with any of the universities, because somewhere we had a fear that they'll dilute our curriculum, which we don't want it to. So then we decided on 40% of perspectives and knowledge, 40% of skills, and 20% of self-work. So that is our curriculum is very unique, and like we build our curriculum on that thing, and where these inclusive spaces, what you're talking about, empowerment of youth, was very, very important, essential part of the entire process. We and into these spaces was a very, very important decision we took. So that is how, like, our courses were not just took and we designed the courses. We decided based on the needs of the society how we can intervene and how we can better it. So that's how all our courses, and in these things, our all our courses were like residential courses, because our students came from a very marginalized backgrounds who were not able to afford fee or any of the things. So it was very, very highly subsidized fee with food and accommodation and teaching. We used to charge them 1,000 rupees per month, depending on the course duration. Journalism was 9 months, other courses were 6 months, and these things. But most of the time, our students were not even able to pay that much of. So we had given them that chance. Okay, you can go out and start working. Once you start working, whenever you feel that you are paying back, give us back how much ever you can give us. So that is how the entire system was built. And in this, the spaces, that is the include dining hall to the activities and everything were like very, very well designed, keeping this inclusiveness and breaking the gender barriers, breaking the all the social stigmas. So that is how Samvada and Baduku started working, and they're doing like when I come back to the educational institutions in the mainstream, we can see a lot of. I'm very disturbed and sad to say that now the educational institutions itself are becoming hate brewing institutions. So that is where I think it's like strengthening representation and leadership opportunities, recruiting the faculty and staff who are with diverse backgrounds, supporting leadership development, and also like building inclusive curriculums and scholarships and financial aids, providing scholarships and financial aids, flexible learning options. Like we used to have when I'm talking about flexible learning options, we used to give them access to the computer lab and everything. Even in the nights, whenever they feel like learning it, they can learn. Those who are back, they can take extra classes and they can learn. And also like providing them with the little more extra time, even after the course, so that they can get back on that thing. So all these things were there. And also we used to do this open book exams to them by starting from 10 o'clock to by evening 6:30, 7 o'clock, they can submit their papers back. So they will have a lot of time to think and do things. So, and most importantly, it was like very hands-on learning, very discussion oriented, based on the stories, and their stories would become a textbook for the rest of the people. So then, and even the cultural centers, counseling services for them, like mentoring is a major part of the learning process, and all these things was like, yeah. I could go on and on and on. I'm also aware of the time. Yes.
Many thanks for sharing the reality, I must say. So the last question, as we step onto the 2025, what are your hopes for the minority community, women? What action can Indian government, communities, individual can take to make these hope a reality?
I would say it's like effective. I'm very hopeful. As a person, I'm very optimistic. So I always tell my young people that don't stop dreaming of a better place, creating, being part of creating that better place. So, and I also believe in like young people and the women are the one who can bring in changes. I might feel biased, but when I say young people, in that young people, both men and women are there. Yeah. Steps to like bring in inclusive policies, implement and enforce laws that promote gender equality, quotas, roles. For education, more funding for education, healthcare, and entrepreneurship programs tailored to minority women. And when it comes to representation, ensure women's representation, including in policy making process and advocacy councils, advisory councils. Like I would feel that all the women who are working, they should be able to sit with the managements and the companies who are coming. For example, I'm talking about garment sector. When the brands come in to give them the jobs, the management and the brands will finish off all the work. But the work will be done by the women. So the women representation should be able, the workers representation should be able to sit with them, and they will negotiate their wages. What will be the wages they are getting? So those kind of decision making, and like when it comes to community, it should be a cultural shift, challenges, stereotypes, and biases through education, dialogue, and our awareness campaigns. Like if you take up, for example, if you take up Islam is a very progressive religion which gives women lot of opportunities for education, to work, and to understand all these things. But we have somewhere like it is, when it comes to Islam, it has become like a terrorist kind of religion. Like bring in these things, try to make it more communicable, and talk to people, learn the local languages, be part of the local governance, and like create safe spaces. And especially, most importantly, I would say that get into mentorship programs, wherein I see when we talk about getting into the any organizations and these things, because of their exposures and their education, they're not able to make it. No, they cannot compete with the existing other young people. So choose some of the people, those of potential in minorities, and train them and make them to come up to that extent. You cannot expect them if they're 40%, when you're comparing with the other 100%, even if they're 40%, up and train them and give them that space. Come to that individual. When it comes to individual also, like
Thank you for sharing your vision. It's very powerful reminder of what possible we can work together to create change. Thank you, Ms. Ishrath ji. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your story with us. Your work is truly inspiring, and I'm sure our listeners feels the same. Let's work together to support and empowerment each other to build a brighter future. So stay connected with SARIM for more meaningful conversation. Thank you so much for joining today. Until next time, take care. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a very meaningful conversation I had with you, and happy to be part of SARIM's work. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
You too. Allah Hafiz. Bye-bye.